Welcome, everyone, to the 282nd weekly MLP Drawing School live critique stream. It's, July 27th? Is it really?
It's
Oh,
No,
No,
it's July
I
28th.
have lied to your calendar.
off me. It's like 6 p.m. Yeah, and change. Don't worry about that little change.
Yeah.
As you can hear, I'm back. Most of you probably didn't notice, but some of you might have been like, hey,
I think we all did.
We all cried every single stream. It was just 2 hours of crying.
Yeah.
Wow.
We couldn't handle it. Really.
Just waterfalls of tear.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
We missed you. We just couldn't do it without you, Tom.
I will remember you.
Do.
Well, as always, we got a small horde of people joining us today. We got Ali Fluffy Picks
Hello.
and me.
And returning, yeah, is the Living Dead. They've returned from the dead again.
Yeah. You know, vacation. Same diff, really. As far
Yeah,
as
it's
work
like-
is concerned.
You know, it's like the movie after the sequel, right? They have like the vacation movie when they're trying to really stretch out
Yeah.
that franchise.
Yep. It's so true.
I'm glad that you're back, LD, because now I don't need to quit art forever.
Oh shit.
High stakes.
Yeah.
No pressure, Zom. No pressure.
Under pressure.
Fact.
Well, that's us. Thanks all for no. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you have any art, please fire it towards our face. And just remember, critique someone in a positive way, not negative. Give some constructive criticism for your fellow artists. It is an amazing learning tool for you.
Constructive critique sandwich. Get your 5 a day.
That sounds tasty.
5 critiques every day. Do it.
Yep, exactly. Or else.
Yeehaw.
Fail.
Or
Apples.
else death.
That'd be so much critique. All right, so let's just hop into this thing then. We're gonna do the top left-hand corner first. Oh, wait. Seeing as the people who've submitted it in our voice chat are not here to listen. So the first one is
No, M's here.
What?
M and both Zara. They're both here.
Oh, are they?
see them.
Oh, they're in
Picarto.
the Picarto. Oh, okay. Then let's renege on that plan. Or we'll start with Tofu's. No, you said Zara? What am I doing here? Zara. Okay. Zara, buddy, can you hear us?
Hello. Oh, there we go. Cool.
Cool. They did this lady here, and it's been a while. How about some Apex Fitness Sunset? Is Apex Fitness a thing? What is it?
Shim.
I
I am not sure.
I'm not.
I know nothing of fitness and or of
Apex.
Apexes.
So she's the
I'm gonna
highest point in
picture-
a curve?
I'm gonna picture it's a VHS tape set.
Okay.
Like the what's his face, the Tybo guy, Billy Blanks, Tybo.
That sounds good.
It is a gym that the OCs go to. real.
So I should start out with a bit on my current workflow. I use 3D modeling software to create the pose and figure, and then roughly trace that to get my baseline. Huh. So you have a muscular lady posed for this, and then you use that as your reference. Yes? Clothing and hair are freehand drawn with references. Comfortable taking the training wheels off for that part.
Who's circling a stripe over and over? Oh, you're
Oh,
doing
that's
that for thighs. I see.
Yeah.
I can.
Hmm. I think. I think. I'm not 100% sure. It just feels a little bit like it should be a little bit more exaggerated in terms of uh, foreshortening. So, in terms of things like, this is the side of the torso, and like this is the back part, or like, seeing things curve around a lot more when it comes to like this sort of area, because you get a lot of curving like around about here because of the way it's sort of positioned. You get a lot of curving near the edge here, and it'll be like fairly standard, fairly normal. And then when it approaches this side, you'll also get like a fair bit of curving going around there as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I get the feeling that it might be useful to do a couple of life drawing sessions just with like a standard photo set, like something from whatever it's called, line of action, or something like that, because that might give you some more poses which aren't quite as obscured with different bits of stuff like the 3D model stuff is. But in general, yeah, looking good. Also, keep an eye on, specifically when you're drawing this kind of an area, how low the different lines and stuff go, because that will change depending on sort of where the weight is like positioned and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm. I almost feel like the angles, like I'm looking at the rendered model you have, like the angles of the hips and the chest could be a little bit more extreme. I'm looking at the reference and it almost feels like, let me get a better color, red. Yeah, there's a little bit more of like a box like that. Of course, red doesn't work. Bloop. And a box like that. Like they're a little more angled. And like doing those types of flexing boxes or having them like turn and stuff adds more action to the pose, more dynamic to the pose. Even
Yeah.
a standstill pose, it just feels more alive and balanced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely sort of makes things more interesting for the brain to look at. Otherwise, you're just kind of like reading lines.
I forgot what the technique is called. We have bush and then bush and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
There's the name.
it's
Gesture sketching?
No, it's specifically contrapose.
yes, yes.
Contrapose. Yeah. That's specifically like a kind of pose where it's like the shoulders and the hips are kind of in this like sort of like way, and so all that sort of stuff. Yeah, definitely Google.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, otherwise looking pretty good. I think I forgot who it is. It's either Vex or someone else has been like giving you face tips and all that sort of stuff, I think that's going all right.
Yeah.
Just got to keep looking at different faces and trying to sketch them and all that kind of stuff.
I think the one other tip I have to throw out is when using references, uh be wary to measure and compare. It's something talked about sometimes. Basically, when you're looking at the image, we see the outline. Sometimes we go to only draw this outline, but the important thing is all the stuff going on. It's not just what you see, it's how it's put together. So when measuring, comparing, like I'm looking at your reference and I can see, okay, so the boob's here, and if I can draw a line basically from the center of the mass at the end, it's just about going to be where the elbow is. So doing that kind of stuff to line things up can
Mm.
really be helpful when you're trying to, and this works with any reference, just kind of finding points that are close to each other, or you can kind of orient yourself from each point and build off from there. That's like there's also that technique where you take a reference, then you draw a grid over it, and you see each box, for the picture. You're not just drawing the thing without thinking. You're drawing each part separately. There's another if you really want to test yourself, because sometimes as artists, we have a reference in front of ourselves, but we don't actually use it. We just like, okay, we look at it and we think we know everything that's there. If you really want to test yourself when like doing a study and like copying a pose of a reference exactly, flip the reference upside down. So take like a human, flip it upside down and try to draw it upside down. It really makes your brain think and not fill in the gaps, because we can't naturally perceive someone being upside down all the time. We're used to them being oriented correctly. So if you want to challenge yourself, try that. Try to do a study where you take a pose, flip it upside down, and also draw it upside down, because it really, really makes you look at that pose and take it all in.
There's also a thing that you could do, which is blind single line drawing, which is basically where you have a canvas or you have a piece of paper or whatever, something to draw on, and then you stare at your reference picture. You don't stare at the canvas that your hands on, and you just do that. You just trace along as best you can, and see and all that sort of. Yeah, you hate it, but it can be useful sometimes for sort of getting a better link between your sort of hand and your eyes, and forcing your eyes to be more in control and that sort of stuff. Can be useful.
So many useful things. There's so many ways
So
to do
many.
things.
Hey, you got any other questions for us there, Sarah? How's her hair? Um,
And I think it
two.
works. Is you got like the idea of like the sunset shimmer hair, but it sort of fits into a little bit more of like a realistic, real world sort of human shape. But if you want to have more like flair and have it more similar to how the pony is, I would definitely like sort of branch some of the streaks out and give it more sort of attitude to the strokes, like someone was just doing. It depends what sort of style you want to go for. Whether you want it like swishy and curly and going back and forth, or whether you want it to be more like a human hair, like unstyled human hair, or whatever.
I mean, I'd personally push for more exaggerated. You already have the muscles super
Yeah, I
exaggerated.
think so as well. Just a matter of what works best for you, I think.
Not saying you have to do cartoony, you can still have that really like streaky human hair, but at least giving her more volume and a little more zhuzh to the curls. Because it's basically like the way the curls are falling here is if she pretty much has like practically damp hair, so it's very heavy and it's just pulling down on with just full force of gravity. Where hair is actually can be very light and bouncy, especially if it is curly. You'd be surprised what it can fight against gravity.
Yep. Adds more visual interest, especially when it's not really too much of like an action pose. That's where this hair can really like impart energy into it and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
More visual balancing and stuff. Yeah. Heck yeah.
All right, shall we move on to our next one? Do you have any resources for learning shading?
So something that you can do is when you're like doing when you're drawing off references, grab a small pen, and what you want to do is trace out where the light should be. So, for example, something like along here and along here and all that sort of stuff. Basically, trace out the areas that are going to be lit up. And then you can also trace out the areas where, for example, there's going to be like shadow and all that sort of stuff. Will sort of help in terms of positioning lights and shadows on figures. And in terms of like actually like drawing lights and shadows and all that sort of stuff, honestly, it's not exciting, but boxes and spheres and all that sort of stuff are probably like a really good learning tool for all this sort of stuff. And we've got some YouTube stuff, but that'll
Mhm.
probably be useful a bit later as
Yeah.
you sort of dig into your lighting everything.
There's always the tutorial channel too. Just search lighting in there. There's I think there's like I just did it. I got 18 hits. So there's a bunch of
Damn.
content there to go through as well.
Exactly, cube, sphere, pyramid. Every artist's life force.
Shapes are fun. It's fun to like capture that 3D-ness or at
Yeah.
least figure it out.
I think we should probably move on because we have a lot of we have a lot of things to go through.
All right.
Oh, yay. Well, we
Uh,
can go on to M's next since they're having computer issues.
wait, they're having computers?
They just want to know when theirs is up.
Okay, we'll do theirs now. So let me just. Yeah, I gotta paste it in. Ah, it's a white background or non-white background. Um, we can fix this. We can.
Wait, quick, make a new Aggie. Just
What?
yeah, we can have a private Aggie.
Okay. Aggie.
I asked in the voice chat whether they want us to do theirs now or wait till later.
Okay,
Oh, it's working now. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Secondary Aggie. Go.
Oh, okay. Secondary Aggie.
All right.
Your picture was too powerful.
I'll just do we have a bucket tool? Oh, quick, just bucket in the background.
There we go.
Oh, thank you. There we go.
I love this. Like this stuff is always so impressive to me. Like having so many characters like all drawn together.
Yeah, the poses are super diverse and fun. And there's lots of different like character types and things going on.
Heck yeah.
And did they have any questions?
I believe.
I believe
That's
they
right.
do.
Yeah.
Here it
Throwing this
is.
in the stream. Planning out a new Twitter banner with all of my human characters, and I've colored
Ah, I
them each
see.
differently for now, just to make it easier with how rough it is. Just wanting a second opinion with the layout and also anatomy. So layout and anatomy.
I like the layout. I think for a banner, it has nice ups and downs, nice spacing.
Mm. I'm taking time to look over all of it because it is bush.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Bush.
Definitely
Oh,
like it.
my bad.
Oh my gosh, Nelly.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
as a banner, I totally agree. It would work very well.
Mm.
I'm interested in what you would do with the background because I'd definitely go with a lot more simplistic, considering how much is going on in this,
Mm.
and the fact that it's going to be trounced down highly because it's a banner.
Twitter
Uh-oh.
compression.
Did my OBS just crash? No, it's there. It goes.
Oh.
No, it's still good.
Woo.
Anatomy. Your characters are your characters. This seems to be pretty consistent with your normal style. I don't see anything that's horribly sticking out to me.
Yeah, nothing stands out too much on the anatomy front. All looks pretty decent.
I am interested in what this one over here is doing. Okay, blue on blue is a bad choice. Green, why not? This one here. Is it rocket pantsing up? Like, because the way that trail is going, it almost looks like their butt is rocket
I thought that
powered.
was sort of like maniac style hair, like
Magic
Oh.
that they're lifting
floating.
up on.
I thought they were
That's
just
what I
floating,
got.
and they just have a lot of
Okay.
hair.
Oh, maybe. I guess
Like
we all
a
had different impressions of it.
almost lunar, and then witch. Oh, that's good. I like that.
My suggestion would be not make the background just white. Little splashes of simplistic color.
hmm
It might be that's just for the sketch. I'm not sure.
That's
I
what
don't
they're
know if
just saying in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I'd make it transparent either, just because borders usually are just rectangles, and just to keep everything consistent, it'd probably be good to just make it a full rectangle, because you don't know
Yeah.
what it's gonna do with that transparency. Twitter's not good at handling that shit.
Yeah. It doesn't need
I
to be
like
anything complex, like just the simple little gradient or something
Yeah.
like that. Boom, boom, boom.
Though, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not sure about this. Is it
Hmm.
me, or does some of the head sizes feel just a tad too small for the size of the body? Because heads are fairly large.
That one
It's
could be
pretty
like a
consistent with her style. Or their
I
style,
mean,
sorry.
that's fair. But also, like, this one here with the really, really long legs, just this head feels a little small.
Oh, okay.
Um, maybe both of them. Just a few of them just seem a little tad too small for the body type, even style included.
Tiniest
So,
little bit.
yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, I could say that. Yeah, the like the heads for different characters, like no matter how old or how young they are, heads tend to be like a pretty similar size. You probably already know that. I'm probably saying things you already know, but I'll say them anyway.
Can never hurt.
Can never hurt. Skirt and hair isn't turned into a water-looking thing because magic. Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
You definitely want to see what this looks like when you're done. You should make sure to fire it towards our faces.
Absolutely.
You got any more questions for us, Em?
Yeah.
All right. Let's hop back
Yeah.
to the other Eggie and roll on.
Hell yeah.
Aggie
Good
switching.
drawing.
Aggie switching.
I'm just going to leave the other Eggie up just in case anyone else lobs one at our face.
Yeah.
All right. So our first picture submitted on the subreddit is not what there it is. It is by the Oreo Bandit. Haven't posted here in a while, but here I am again. I wish to learn to draw wings better. These are the best feathered wings I've drawn in a long time, but I know I can do better. Please tell me the secret. Unsettling lasagna is my username on Amino.
That works.
Oh,
The
that's because
secret. The secret is you've got this site called Line of Action. So you just Google that, it'll pop up, and they have an animal drawing section where you can select birds. And then it'll just show you pictures of different birds. And your job will be to sketch out those birds, including what their wings look like. And then that will teach you how to draw wings. That's
It
it.
picks.
To learn how to draw wings, you draw wings. Yeah.
Are they paying you? Because that's the second time you suggested that site in this single video.
Mate, if they were, they would not be paying me enough. No, but it's yeah. I mean, something that I've also done is I'll go through and I'll look for. There's some really interesting sites where, for example, they'll go through like the history of wings and just how feathers work. Like there's this one page that like a bird site has up, and it's just about how different kinds of wings look and how how different kinds of feathers look and how feathers grow and all that sort of stuff and what they're used for and where they're positioned on the wing and all that sort of stuff, and that can be useful. But generally, I found that just like drawing birds is the most helpful thing because it
Hmm.
helps to see what wings look like when they're in action and all that kind of stuff. But these work. These look decent. The connection point where it like connects to the body is always going to be like one of the more interesting places. And you've got this section going right. You want to keep that sort of shape. When you're looking at wings from underneath, you've got sort of this part here, which is like how it connects to the body and all that sort of stuff. And you've got like the the little bit of like the basic sort of wing, the basic sort of like feathers and stuff here, and then the secondary ones, which are like the kind of little bit longer ones and all that sort of stuff, and the primaries, which are the like really long ones and all that sort of stuff. But when you look at real wings, what you'll see is when they're like extended and that sort of stuff, you'll see like, oh Christ, you'll see like
Oh.
the kinds of shapes that they take up on the wings aren't all sort of the same. They're like bush, 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 all that sort of weird stuff. Other than that, I don't know how wings work. Anyone have advice? I want to learn how wings work as well.
You gave the good advice. I really have nothing to add to that. It's wings are something to be studied. It's a specific part that we have the tools and resources to look at and take in the information, studying it, drawing it, all the fun.
Yeah.
It may seem tedious, but it can be fun just to break things down and learn it.
I think wings are really fun for me because it's something that you can sort of throw a lot of motion into, like gesture sketching the wings, just like slamming the shape when they're like, okay, I want the wing to like go in this direction, and doing that very, very quickly, very messily is good because it helps you get everything in this kind of like motion, because it's meant to be flowy, I think, at least in how I
Mhm.
draw the wings anyway. And then from there, you just sort of refine the shape and the anatomy. And there are a few specific rules you can learn about, like where like the feathers are layered in different places and stuff. But other than like actually looking up that sort of like anatomical studies, it's it's like Pixie said, just practicing, get the right feel, get the right knowledge. It sort of comes down over time.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That is really the secret to art. Time.
exactly. Yeah, wings more than anything, you can fake them. You can like as long as you get the right, as long as you get the right
Like, look
motion
at the
down.
MLP wings. They're not shaped like bird wings in real life, but you get the idea.
Hell, you
Yeah.
also get like the anime chibi little wingers. And there's so many
Mm,
ways to interpret wings. So many throughout history.
hmm The history of wing drawings.
yeah. Something that you have got really down really well is the so for example, you got the pony head here, pony body looking down from above, looking at like diagonal hooves and stuff. Like these two hooves are like keeping the nice grounded everything, and you have this hoof up and the opposite diagonal hoof off doing its own other weird thing. It's good. It looks good. Focusing
Mhm.
on like diagonals for like the hooves that should stay, secure, just providing, everything, and then letting the other diagonal hooves do like weird stuff is good.
Yeah. The one thing I drew over here, I drew over your head and your body. The only reason I did that, and it's two really easy fixes. The first one, the head, I think it was just a smidge too small. It just make it a little bigger. Usually, if you don't have to do MLP sizing, clearly, like with these long legs, it's fun. I love it. But as just a general thought, the head won't be the smallest circle unless you're doing like an actual horse. So I would say you could pump up that size a bit. As and that goes into the neck as well. The neck was very, very thin. Just it needs a little bit more support there. So don't be afraid to give it a little more meat around the neck. It's no big deal after that. But as for the body, a little thing, be careful of the downward slope you had going. Like if you look along your original back, it kind of was downward sloping. That's more of a giraffe thing. Most other hoofed creatures kind of have a more balanced back. Of course, you'll have like little bumples and stuff for the spine to curve
Bumples.
and yeah, bumples, just little back bumples. Nothing
Absolutely.
extreme. But yeah, just be careful of that. Even most animals is very it's not very it's not very common, I think, in hooves creatures to have a slanted down back. I think giraffes like the big standout. Most animals tend to have like a flatter or
Hmm.
yeah.
Bumpled.
There you go, new word for everyone.
Yep, brilliant.
It's a technical artistic term. I will not define it for you. You will have to assume.
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to our next one.
Yeah.
We got a derpy. This one's
Yay.
by
Ooh, this one's from last week.
Oh, was this an update or is it the same one?
It's the finished version.
Yes.
Ah, I
Mm.
see.
So I wasn't there, but I mean,
So it doesn't count.
it now. It almost looks like they redrew it. To be honest, I think they did.
I don't think so.
Well,
Wait, let me grab.
look at the hair and the head. It's not as stretched, unless if that's just a weird artifact of the.
I gotta find it. I gotta scroll. Where'd it go?
Share it with us when you find it.
It could have been a weird artifact. Pictures are strange. Good job on the crease in the skirt there.
Yeah, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
So they've filled in a bit more of the color, added shading, and done some minor adjustments overall, and finished the eyeballs.
Heck yeah. Also good ears. They look good.
Yeah, they're cute.
Not much more to add beyond nicely done, and it's a real shame the watercolor ran on the previous one, but you actually did a pretty good job of hiding it.
Yeah, I'd definitely say so.
Is my biggest fear while working with watercolor, especially when I'm trying to put down very little color of it and using a lot of water, so it's this smooth blend that goes on. It's like it's going to run past the location. It's going to do it on me.
Yeah. That's part of the fun though. That's yeah, you need to learn to love it.
I do have this pen that is called a water blocker, and you get to lay it down, and it basically is a hydrophobic coating, and it'll stop the water from moving over it. And when you want to remove it, you just use an eraser or just give it a quick scratch, and it goes off. Yeah, it's basically a crayon, but slightly fancier. and comes off
That's-
really easy without leaving a mark.
That's cheating.
Hmm
That's not allowed.
I love
Yeah,
doing
you
it with
definitely don't
eyes.
want to hear about masking liquid.
Yeah. I would say with the wings, you can make them. You can make they're pretty thin. You can make them. You can make them thicker. It's like bush, 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 and doing something like this also like imparts like some like interesting sort of like shape into them and all that sort of stuff as well. So bush, 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 bush. You can do like all this sort of stuff. Ignore my weird sounds. Yeah, something like that. Have this one almost like curling around a little bit and all that sort of stuff. You know, have fun. With the pose, it's a standard little pose. If you want to mess about with like more expressive, dynamic poses and all that kind of stuff, um, just practice a little bit with like life drawing sort of. No, I'm not going to say it, but just you can just practice with like life drawing sort of stuff. There's like tutorials out there, and like if you look on YouTube for gesture sketching, then you'll see videos come up about getting down poses in a more interesting, flexible kind of like a sort of a way. So you can mess about with that a little bit, and try to get some stuff that's a little bit more out there, especially like for people that are flying and that sort of stuff. You want to like impart that motion into their pose and all that kind of stuff. But it looks good. Which tutorial should be searched for exactly for interesting gestures? So gesture sketching is kind of the technique, and then it'll be a case of looking around for interesting collections of poses or videos or that sort of stuff. And that can be, you can find stuff like that by looking for like life drawing videos on YouTube, or a site called Line of Action, which you can search on Google. Or
And you
there's
got
like a
another
whole
25 cents.
Yep, 100%. So that's my goal. Or just Google searching for like life drawer, like free life drawing stuff will pop up with a bunch of different photo sites and all that sort of stuff of just like people with interesting poses that you can sort of look at. Good picture.
There's also if you want, like, I know there's like filling sessions and stuff, but also for poses and finding poses, this really great art. I'll post it in these channels. The Dorcas stock.
Oh yes.
They have tons and just the back images they have with poses and stuff is amazing. And they have all different bodies, they have all different poses, and they do focus on fantasy style, which is like, not the normal like ballerina posing pose that you normally find on a lot of figure drawing websites. But yeah, lots of good, interesting.
Adorka stock is like the best. I love them. They do such good stuff.
Blessed reference material in this community.
Bless for Robo Ali. Hey,
Alright.
we can move on. That was good. Good picture.
Look, it's another horse. Who would have guessed?
No.
This one's by Eudes. Your bros.
I called them Pizza Lord because I could pronounce that one.
I decided to make a quick sketch of Songbird Serenade and ask knowledgeable people for help. I very often have problems with yellow and specifically with shadows. I don't know how to purple, red, or blue bleed. Or I don't like how purple, red, or blue bleeds. Help me how best to shade yellow in works, please. This is a great question.
I love it. I love
I'm
this
just gonna say it.
question.
This is like my favorite picture on the canvas. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
This is my
I love it.
favorite question we've ever gotten.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good as well. I was gonna say it's great. It's a bit above my head.
Is it? Because I've seen you shade.
Yeah. Well, I mean, talking about like colors bleeding, like I just use like multiply and I choose something like darker and more, and then use that.
Yeah. It's uh to be honest, like a lot of the stuff that I would like recommend messing with is just like normal kinds of like hue shifting sort of stuff. It's like one of the reasons these kind why these kinds of areas might look a bit strange to you or like not as appealing as they probably could be is just because you've sort of shifted them like a lot to be like almost the same color as the cloud is. Whereas like you should think about what something that's good to think about is thinking about like, for example, if I have like a big yellow light like the sun or something like that, then the shadows will sort of appear more blue shade. So what you can do is take this sort of like ear sort of color, and then you don't need to like pull it towards gray. What you can do is you can pull it uh, towards the orangey sort of a side of the color wheel, and kind of do something like that because it's gonna end up looking a bit like the opposite of like the lit side where we pull the other lit side towards yellow. Yeah, and you've got this like interesting like warm color here and this like cooler sort of a shade as it goes over this side. And just doing that sort of stuff like around the picture will sort of probably help you avoid that sort of grayish looking thing while also creating like an interesting cool tone for the shadows. You've got it like here. The interesting thing with looking at this in particular, and you probably already know this, I'm probably saying stuff you already know, but like keeping one side being like a warm sort of shade, and then the other side being a cool one is important.
Hmm.
But for both, what you should do is take the base color, so the actual color like in the middle, and then like what you've done over this side, tilt it, towards red towards one side of the color wheel, and then for the opposite side, you just tilt it sort of towards the other kind of a side, you know, towards the cooler side. Yeah, so this side is what have I done? No, that's not what I want to do. But yeah.
And I think something else to keep in mind and to maybe dig into to help you out here is bounce lighting and shadow. While they combine themselves, they are kind of two different things you have to consider. Because on one end, you have the shadow, like we just talked about, all the how to pick that color and kind of work with warmer, cooler tones. And then over top of that, you're also going to be influenced by the bounce light, which is the blue from the cloud.
Mm.
So you can't necessarily just make your shadow the bounce light. Um, it's like something that goes on top of shadow or plays with their shadow because then the shadow becomes the base color for your bounce light instead of the original thing.
Mm. It's like two different passes of stuff. If you look at like 3D rendering, you'll see it where like it'll specifically well, it's interesting. If you look at like people who are actually like making 3D renderers, what they'll have this sort of like shadow step as one step of like the rendering process, and then they'll have like the bounce lighting stuff, and then to like get the actual final picture, they'll just add those two together. And so,
Mhm,
think of them as like two separate steps, and you're just sort of combining them together a little bit. Sort of.
mhm, mhm.
And it's interesting with the cloud sort of stuff, what you can do is you can look at subsurface. This is a technical term. I'm not sure what the term artists would otherwise use is, but subsurface scattering.
Yeah, that's what they use as well.
Oh, okay, cool. But go on YouTube. There's some really good subsurface scattering videos. I'll try and post some in the thread. But there's some of those that are really useful, and you could probably use that sort of technique for the cloud to actually like make the cloud emit some more light into these sort of areas to like really make your lighting and everything a little bit more exciting and interesting around you. But like in general, I think it comes across pretty well. The areas like up here and stuff like that come across great.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to change much around there. It's where the areas are touching that might need to focus on a little bit.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would look into is maybe pushing your shadow shapes on the cloud if you want to get those a little more in tune with the surface of the cloud and how it bumps and how there's grooves, because right now it's just kind of a vague shape along this side, but you'd also have like shade from behind, because if I can tell correctly, your light's kind of coming from the front onto the pony. So like even these edges would have a little shadow, just being I keep choosing the wrong color, whatever. Um just some stuff here and there, adding a little more fluffiness to the cloud, getting some bumps. Oh yeah, like intersecting area or pressure areas, pressure points for where the hooves interact with the area. And if you really want, you could get like a nice clean shadow or a harsher shadow for where the leg is. So it really feels like it's, blocking the cloud. There's a lot of fun, deeper shadows you can play with. Also with the bottom of the hair. Get some of that a little darker, because then it'll pop against
Ooh,
everything a little more.
I like that. That looks cool. Yeah.
So it's just taking basically what you've been doing with the pony itself and adding it more to the pieces it's with as well, and the hair, to get it to pop more. Even the topper upper hair up here, getting a little bit of a darker shadow under certain parts. Just really help push the volume and everything.
Yeah.
Push the contrast and the overlappy sort of feelings and all that sort of stuff. Because that's what the shadows are there for, to sort of illustrate the form.
Absolutely. All right. Do we want to move on to our next one?
Yeah, heck yeah, I love it. Please keep submitting art to us because I love every time you post.
Hell yeah,
We were,
super
we were looking at the other post that you made and we were like, oh my god, this is too good. What the hell?
good.
And then we
So
saw this
good.
one and we're like, oh, thank you. We don't need to critique that masterpiece.
Yeah, it's so good.
All right. Our next picture up is by. There it is. Limey18. Lime is back. Yeah.
Whoa.
Welcome back.
Picture. Yeah.
So let's
Well,
talk cars.
Any more info?
That's all they have. They got no questions for us. They just wanted to tell us they're back. So welcome back.
Well,
Yay.
welcome back. My first critique would be
Ask questions.
ask questions. Yeah. It helps us help you. Glad you're back. Now, what have you come back for? What questions do you have? Did
Hope
you
it's
have a
horse.
specific issue? I hope it's horse too.
I will accept human in a pinch, but horses is preferred.
Yeah, it's fair. Same.
Big ears, they're adorable. I would take the horn, tilt it forward a bit, and move it up a bit. What it looks like is your horn has formed out of the eyebrow, and I think that's just an artifact of how you've placed the head. It does appear you've gone profile for the eyes and muzzle, but not profile for the horn location. So I just move that over a bit. That's That's easy, and oh boy, have I done it before many, 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 many times. I'll probably still do it in the future, but you don't have to. Learn from my mistakes. Love your hair.
The hair is really fun. I love the gradient on it.
Mm.
Something else I might suggest is making that neck a little bigger. Uh, just it needs a little something to support their head. And if you look at horses or ponies, they have a little bit of a sturdy neck, keeps it from wobbling. You know,
Yeah. If you look at real horses, they're just like
like barrels.
they're like held together by all the muscles and stuff like that. Crazy.
It's like horse, and then neck.
Crazy. Aren't the horses weird? What's wrong with horses? Why are they so strange?
Can you imagine someone sat there, looked at a horse, and turned it into what we see as MLP? Isn't that kind of crazy?
It's crazy.
I
I
think you
think there are a
just.
few more steps along the line.
I think just a lot of squinting.
Yeah.
It had to have been by the time that stylistic, cartoony things already existed. Probably of humans first, and like cats and things.
Sounds
Yeah.
about right.
With the ear, what you can do to make it interesting, to make it more interesting, is to have one side be fairly straight and the other side be like a curvy boy. So just push push push. Exactly. Yeah.
Sure, good Kirby.
I don't know why I'm tired today, so I'm making the push 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 and the noises and stuff a lot.
I mean, listen, I created Bumble.
Whatever makes you
So,
happy.
to add to that ear, though, you should add to that ear another ear.
Oh my
A
god.
good
Multiply it-
measure, a good rule of
multiply by
thumb
two.
is basically if you can draw a straight line, and there's no hair blocking it, you'll also have an ear tip poke up to that straight line. If you're
Yeah.
doing the symmetrical, you could have it bend forward a little, or it could be out of view. But generally speaking, they're pretty symmetrical with each other.
Good job on the eye. The eye looks good. I'd just like squinch it. So make it. Where's the color that is not in use? So this direction, because they're seeing it from like this kind of an angle, you just squinch it in a little bit, make it a touch smaller in that way. And I've also positioned it with the new horn shape in mind. So yeah, mane looks good. Rest of it, yeah, looks pretty good. I pulled the wing over this direction just to sort of give it some stuff. Right now you've got like the horn sticking up and that sticking down, but with the horn that way, that way it kind of like makes a nice shape.
Good horse overall. Good horse.
Good horse. We love it. We want to see you do more and then give us questions and then we can answer those questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
All right, let's move on to our next one.
Yeah.
Or I guess next ones. Because this is
Look
a
at all
lot of
these
pinky.
punk.
Oh, okay.
All right, so this is by Suborgan. The object of power shoots unlimited amount of Pinkie Pies. That piece took a really long time. That's
I
a
like
lot
it.
of Pinkie Pies.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot.
That's also a horrible, horrible thing. I think there has to be a limit on the number of Pinkie Pies because I believe the world starts folding in on itself when you have too many.
Oh,
I think that's what this character is thinking right now too.
yeah. I gotta applaud though. Super ambitious. Look at all those poses and the action and going on. Like everything's so live. And you got the background. Like this is a big piece, and you should pat yourself on the back for completing such a big project.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. The poses on these ones are really nice.
I wonder what's going on in the. I'm trying to like sort of like wrap my head around the layout of the environment and the background. I can tell they're sort of like flying out of. I don't know if that's like a portal between dimensions or something. I'm not quite sure what that is because it's sort of blurry. You got like the hard floor on the left, and then it sort of like opens up into a room. I'm not really sure what's going on personally. That might just be me.
Pinky is going on.
Is there a Pinky in the background with like the pillows on the head sitting on top of a pile of much smaller Pinkies, or is she like really giant? Or is she just
I think,
flying through the air and holding the pillows?
yeah, I think she's flying through the air.
Yeah. It's sort of
Everyone's
the
been
fact that she's laying on top of this like other shape is creating like a
Mm.
illusion for me that she's laying there, especially because this is exactly the kind of pose you would have a character like laying down in a bed doing. So I would choose to have that character like oh, I can't draw. Why can't I draw?
I know.
It's not letting me. Maybe in my layers. No, it's on the top. What the hell? Oh, now it works. I think it was just laggy. Okay, it's just laggy. Yeah, I would have the character like up here somewhere. Where? The pillows. But yeah, just keeping in mind those things of like, I know what's going on here, but when looking at the picture, what do other people think? That sort of mindset of like, how at an immediate glance, like
Mhm.
how does the brain like read things? How does it make sense of things?
Mm.
So I apologize if some of my comments are like, "Oh no, it's like that," or "You stupid die."
No,
Like,
no.
I'm not trying to offend you. It's just a case of these are the things that need to be pointed out, because if there is a mistake, or if there's something that you didn't intend for something to come across a certain way, and it does, then it's like important to know that, even if it's just for future reference.
Yeah, I just think it's an unfortunate tangent you have with this
Mm-hmm.
area. It probably would have worked if it didn't have a parallel tangent going on right into each other.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Just stuff like that to keep in mind of like how stuff's laid out, especially when you've got a piece like this where there's like so much going on. It's super easy for there to be like little things where it's like, oh wait, no, this sort of lines up with this too much, or this creates like a weird like a misunderstanding of what's going on.
Yeah. So with the this is awesome. This is great. I think what will be, and actually what I wanted to say is good job on focusing the attention to different areas. Like most of the time when I look at these large sort of sprawling pictures and all that sort of stuff, I'll be like, everything is where my attention is drawn, and there's no areas where like my interest is drawn to, and you should focus on like making these areas less interesting and focusing on the focal areas. I think you've done a good job of that. It looks pretty good. The thing that might be good to focus on now is to look at uh, scene setup. And that will be a case of something along the lines of sort of deciding, okay, here's going to be like where my vanishing point is. And then I'll just like do like a bunch of different sort of like, things. I'll sort of, have everything kind of like following sort of like, here's where the horizonish sort of shape is going to be and all this sort of stuff. And then like constructing things in the environment based on that sort of vanishing point and all that sort of stuff, and based on that kind of like perspective-y sort of like stuff. And doing that sort of stuff is probably going to help push your sort of scenes up a notch, up a level, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I really don't have much else to critique here, just mostly because I'd want to know what you want critiqued from this point. Just like it's a really massive project. You did a lot of great stuff. We touched on a few points, but just mostly pat yourself on the back. Big project
Yeah,
done.
looks
Hmm.
good. Tell us where you want to go from here. Like
Yes.
tell us the things that you have in mind, or the things that you really want to focus on, or what sort of projects you want to sort of be a part of, or you want to complete, and then we can sort of give you tips and advice on sort of pushing in those directions.
Hmm.
But this looks good.
So, what do you think this would look like if it was a Fluttershy one?
They'd all be crying.
There would
Would
just be a huddle right here, and all of them would be in a pile there, and that'd be it.
Fluddle puddle.
Fluddle puddle. Oh,
all right? Let's move on to our next one then.
fumble.
All right, we're gonna move on to this headshot by Snow.
Oh, moving right.
It
Whoosh.
is My Little Gamer Pony or My Little Pony Gamer. I drew one of my favorite stallions, Quibble Pants. I love this cutie. Is
Good
Quibble
choice.
Pants? Is that like an actual pony's name, or is that your OC's
Yeah.
name?
Yeah, it's the one that's what's
The
his name?
Rainbow
Played by
Dash rival.
Battlesworld. He was played
Oh,
by Battlesworld.
I'm a bigger fan than you are, cause I'm the
Yeah.
fanboy
Yeah,
who
He's
knows
great.
everything.
I
right.
don't acknowledge the newer books.
Yeah.
you've got the likeness down. It definitely looks like that pony. I look at this pony and I get really annoyed. So you've done a good job.
Maze, in my defense, it's been a really long time.
I,
I haven't done a yearly
I
rewatch
I
in
think this is
several
a really good
years.
picture.
Yeah, LD is a fake fan.
Yep.
You come back to us your return, but at what cost? No, but this headshot looks pretty good. Did they give any more questions or details or comments or anything on it?
Whoa, 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 whoa! That's asking too much.
Oh, okay, my bad. Sorry.
But that's a no. Um,
It's always good to give more questions and stuff, because then we'll know more about what you want to achieve with your picture.
I think looking at this, I'm not sure if this is like a show style thing, but just be careful of where this ear starts. Right now it's kind of starting very flatly out of the head, as if the connection point is here to here, so it's almost like taped on. And also it's just very close to the eyebrow here. If you look at the horses, they tend to have a little bit more space between the two, the ear and the eyebrow. It's almost like you want to consider the face has a circle where the eye doesn't touch, because pony MLP ponies are weird and they kind of like are front facing. So they exist, the eyes would exist on this plane, and then the side of the head would exist, and then you'd have the ear drawn wonderfully in yellow,
Hmm.
poking out. Um, more it connects more to the top of the head, side top, kind of in that quarter one. If I could split the circle into 1/4, it's kind of existing in this quadrant.
Hmm. The ear flows off of the back of the head and flows into the neck.
Yeah, that's typically what you want to do.
And normally, this part, the jaw where it goes up, that will kind of go up into sort of the whole head shape.
Yeah,
Kind of.
you don't have to draw the entire circle and separate the head, but it will have that like invisible connection there, and it's important to keep that in mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in general, looks pretty good. You could probably pull the eye that's closest to us. This one. You could pull that more towards the center a little bit. Something that I like to do, and I've taught everyone here. They're all good artists now. Is make a bit of a circle for the side of the head, and then just be like, okay, nothing lives in there except maybe the ear, and then it gives you like, it forces your eyes to be like more on this sort of front plane and all that sort of stuff. Also, I need to go pick up a dog, so I'll be back in about 2 minutes because I need to go out to the car and grab him.
Whoa, be safe.
Okey-dokey.
Overall,
Yeah.
good stuff.
Keep it up, buddy. All right, let's move on to our next horse.
Let's go. Or is the faceless trio?
Yeah, it's the Faceless Trio. So this one, the person gets a lot of points. It's user deleted from planet, and it's I redid my head/ear design. I think it looks all right, but the neck looks weird. Could someone help me with that? And then their follow-up question was, I made a few more versions, which is this one.
Mm-hmm.
Please tell me which one you like the best. Cool. Questions. Love it. Thank you. We love
Yeah, for
directed
real.
questions. If I had to pick one of these, I think I would pick the first one. The slightly wider head. It's more squishy head, more thing to hug. I think they all look very wonky without a muzzle, though. If we're going for the horse, and you've sort of taken like a human head blob shape and imported or blended it with the horse head shape, which is interesting.
I would just be careful overall. Like I think I would combine a few different things from each one. Like I like this one back here, this third one, because the circle feels like it got completed. Where on these two, there's a little bit of a divot where the circle is. And what I would combine is basically just pushing maybe the ear from the second one back into that line. I know we talked about in the previous one. Like if I were to just quickly draw, the ear is gonna line up kind of with the back of the head there. And if you're wanting to go for that more bubble out shape, Fluffy's Eye, the most talented, wonderful person here, does a really great
What?
style with those kind of faces where they have like the 3/4 face with the cute little chin and the cute little cheek going on. Highly recommend looking at their work to get some ideas. Great stuff. 10 out of 10.
Hello, I have returned.
Whoa!
Welcome back.
Hi.
Did you bring back pizza?
No, it's still in the fridge. I need to chuck it in the pie warmer.
Personally, I would make the ears a bit longer because we got to deal with a bit of mane, and if I plan on hearing past my own hair, I needed to just get those little tippy toppies above there. It's very easy to get lost in the mane with short ears. Yeah. That's about what I got for you. Who's Fluffy's Eye? Oh, you know who Fluffy's Eye is, Soldier Point. Don't play this game.
Or
Oh,
else.
I will talk about one more thing because this is like a big generic technique thing. See all these little lines you're making? They look like little chicken scratchy lines. In art, you wanna try to get your hand, your muscles, your arm to do a swoosh, a big swooshy, swooshy, swoosh, 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 curvy, curvy, flowy, flowy, swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Swoosh is love, swoosh is life. There's a few benefits between the two. See, with the scratchy chicken scratch lines, they're much more unconfident. They're slower. They're probably a little less inaccurate. Like this is one of the reasons maybe you got the divots in the head going a little here. But with like a full swoosh, we can get that curve going. And you don't. I know you're drawing traditional. You don't have the undos. That's okay. You just press down really light and can go over it a few times till you get a curve you want, just like how you would do an undersketch for the bits you have erased here. So don't be afraid to do longer, swooshier lines. They don't need to be perfect, but it'll give you a little better control, a little more flow to your shape. And I think it also, because I know when I used to do chicken scratch, it made me hold the pencil really, really hard and my wrist would hurt. So it might also help to just loosen your hand up in general, just to get the swooshies, because they're light, they're flowy, they don't take a lot of staying in the same spot and getting the line correct.
Yeah. The other interesting thing they'll do is they'll probably let you speed up a little bit, because doing all this and all that sort of stuff, it takes up like a lot of time and effort and energy and all that sort of fun stuff. But if you're doing like that, you can get a lot of drawing done pretty quickly, and move on to other pictures and all that sort of fun stuff. And then when you get like really loose and all that sort of stuff, you can do like stuff like that, like pretty quick. So yeah, looking at like the big swishy swishes, so good. And that's the technical term.
Mm-hmm.
It is
Plus
for
to
us.
know.
Yeah.
All right, shall we move on to our next one?
Heck yeah.
See how many pictures. This is the last one.
This is the
Yeah,
last
but-
one.
It's the final
Asterisks.
picture.
It is submitted by
Tofu.
Yes, in this chat. Yes, right, but they aren't here. Hello, hi fellas. This is meant for the critique student today. The question I got are how to make the characters fit into the scene, and general feedback as critique as well. Thank you so much. Sorry I can't make it to the stream. Maybe my sleep schedule is messed up at the moment. So, all right. A few quick things. Sleep is for the weak. If you have to sleep, you're already failing. No. Yeah. No.
God.
Embrace the sleep. It's the best time.
Or else we'll come and attack you.
I love this picture, and I love this episode series. I wish Mushroom Village happened in the show, but I mean, the proper trio was the best. We just always need Glim Glam.
Any trio that Glim Glam's part of is a trio that I can love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the show that's picture about. Yeah. It's very fun. I really like the elements of detail, like the stuff that's flying about in the back. It's sort of nondescript, but there's enough of it going on that makes me want to go, what the heck is this? And stare further into the picture. The characters, these changelings looking at our subjects is very nice. I wish this one right up here was looking down slightly, so it was focusing us more on them. Because right now he's looking off onto this mushroom over here, which isn't. I don't think that's what you're quite looking for. Luckily, this is a pretty easy fix when you don't have it heavily shaded, because you should just be able to do a good old snipperoonie right there and go tilt.
Yep.
Yeah, because the thing that pops out in my head is it's kind of the same thing that is happening to the changeling. My eye is actually drawn to this spot because there's two major things going on. You have your brightest light in this area. Like I wanna kind of like be able to have my eye be led down to them, but it's not. I keep going here because the other hurdle here is red. The human eye is drawn to the color red before any other color. So we have this bright yellow, wow, bright red mushroom top sitting up here only making my eye want to be pulled to this location. I have nothing pulling me down into the other reds. There's nothing pulling me down into them. There's nothing making them be the focus for me. Like, you could maybe think about having like a giant red mushroom framing it. This is what captures my attention most out of this entire picture.
Mm.
And it's subjective, of course. Other people will have other opinions, but to me, my eye just wants to focus here.
Mm. It's a hard sort of it's hard to sort of work out compositionally and all that sort of stuff.
So,
You could have
a
some
possible
some light
oh,
sort of sorry. You could
no,
have
go.
some like light coming in like behind them or something like that to sort of make them pop out a little bit and be a little bit more contrasty with the background and sort of stuff. That could help.
I think another thing to help with that is to kind of fade out the top of this mushroom
Hmm.
and kind of bring the lighter portion down to here. This is the terrible color. It's whatever I had selected. I'm just kind of throwing on top. Just something to not make it so standoffish and powerful. Sure, you can still have the lighting you'd hit around it, but it's also going to be in shadow because the main light's over here pointing to it. We're going to have this nice shadow down its trunk. And that can be something that helps you lead from this area down to our friends down here. Just something that, gets it to go in a direction towards our heroes. Oh, I like that. Whoever's adding in the extra shading, like just to kind
Hmm.
of get some compositional lighting going on in here, some lighting to frame. Because they could be in a big, huge lit forest, and that's totally fine. But I think there'd still be some stronger shadows considering how strong the light is back here.
Yeah. Light and then behind the camera is dark. And so boom, you can use that as an excuse to, add some like more grey tones to all this sort of stuff to sort of so that they are red, but they're not pulling the eye so much.
Hmm.
And then, add some like white light ish or white lighter sort of stuff coming in behind there, which helps pull these people forward and all that sort of stuff. And you might be thinking, but that's not how the light would work. But that's what makes the picture interesting. Push. Now our eyes go here because it's like, oh, what are these dark colors right against these light colors? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of fitting characters into a scene and all that sort of stuff, what I'll look at is I remember for an earlier iteration of this picture, you had Twilight over here. I mean Fluttershy, the other one, yeah, the Fluttershy, and you had Fluttershy like this, and you were like, she doesn't fit in. True, if you look at this, it doesn't really fit in, but something that you should probably look at whenever you're like inserting characters into a scene is looking at how to fit the colors in. So when you had like Fluttershy over here and all that sort of stuff, the background had this kind of like uh, shaded feeling, but the characters didn't really fit in. And I think that that's what was kind of throwing you off there. And when you added that blue sort of layer on top, you were like, oh yeah, this. Well, I was like, oh yeah, that looks a little bit better. But your job will probably be to do that yourself. So, for example, I take this pink color, I slide it towards the blue, make it a little bit darker, and then boom, that's still pink, but it's affected by the color of the light in that area. Same thing with the yellow. I pull that. I'm not sure where I'd pull that. I'd probably pull that more towards this sort of area. Yeah, and do something like that, and then boom, you can have a Fluttershy that fits in more with the light there and all that sort of stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, I think it looks good.
Yeah.
looks very interesting and strange and dynamic and cool.
Very grand. I like the grand feeling of it. Like it feels like one of those concept art pieces with just like the long form composition and like the grand forest behind it, kind of mystical and unknown.
Mm. You can see the sort of sketches that OJ did that you were sort of referencing when you were like doing the full composition of the space. It might be good to sort of try those sorts of things out yourself. You know, the black and white value sketches and all that kind of stuff. Might
Fun
be
way
an
to
interesting
test.
direction. Yeah.
A fun way to test like the compositional stuff is kind of watch what your eye does when you look at the piece. Like look away for a second and then look at it and take note of where your eye first goes, the very first point that draws your attention. And when you reach that point, when you find that point, then yeah, where does your eye want to go next? And then you draw a line. And, doing that kind of stuff without you don't want to think too hard. You want to just go pure instinct on it. Like if you start here, like, okay, I feel like I want to go here, and then I go here, and then I go here. Or like, okay, that's not the line I want. I actually want to go here, here, and lead back into here, or, whatever you want the compositional line to go. It's a nice practice to sometimes test your piece, test where you're at, to just put on a new layer and be like, okay, where am I being drawn? Where is this going? And
Mm.
where does it end? And does it loop back on itself? Because something that's really good in composition is to get you to loop back on yourself. A lot of the time, I see a lot of compositions that kind of just go off the page, and that's like the worst thing you want in art. Depending, art's subjective. There's 1,000 reasons why you want to do 1,000 different things, but you want to keep the viewer playing around in your piece, right? You want to get them looking and observing and coming back. And if you just get them to go off the piece, they'll look and it's like, okay, I'm done. Bye. I'm over here now. I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So it's like capturing the secret capturing of their attention.
You gotta catch them all.
Okay. No.
It could be cool to flip your picture like horizontally before you do that, sort of looking at it and trying to
Good
see where your
point.
eyes go and all that sort of stuff. Like I've flipped the picture. I've not been looking at the canvas for like a few minutes, for like a while now, and like yeah, my eyes like boom boom, doing stuff like that. Yeah, you know, doing all that sort of stuff, like Ali said, is really useful and good, cool and strange and interesting and good.
Just like what you say.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, what the hell? No.
And not to keep harping on it, but like if you want a different flow, you can just be like, well, I like we were saying, like you could want it to go like that. It's like, okay, well, what do I have to change to make my eye want to go from here to here right away? Like that Fluttershy there, that could be really interesting. Like you have a mushroom to be the bridgeway, or like have these floating mystical paths, kind of have it come into the foreground and come in. It's all a lot to play with, but you can make your lines and you can make your piece do whatever lines you want. It's just figuring out what
Mm,
kind of attention and how to grab that attention.
yeah, it's like a lot of stuff in composition isn't like about you know how do I 100% make this happen or whatever. It's a lot of it is like when you're talking about like line of actiony sort of stuff. It's similar. It's like how do I reinforce the sorts of flows that I want? You know,
Mhm, mhm.
do I add like a little bit of like interesting greenish kind of shape here? Add a little bit of like interesting red stuff here to sort of pull the eye that way, and then over towards them, and all that kind of weird stuff. And you know, it's all about reinforcing stuff and sort of making the eye follow different directions and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's good
got not
stuff though.
much else. I just wanted to say those rocks, I love them. Chef Kiss. I love the diversity of the color. Like you have darker rocks up here and lighter rocks up here, but they all feel like the same rock, the texture.
Mm,
Just gonna sprinkle that on top. Love it. Absolutely good work on those rocks. And the hard edges, sorry. There's a lot I like about the rocks. I can tell you did some environmental rock studies. It paid off.
yeah, textures are looking good. Looking smick.
All right. Well, it seems we're out of art. So thank you all for coming. I guess we'll see you again next week. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Why?
Bye.